Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Newshour. I am Gautam Roy. Coming up in the next hour. India says it's preparing to facilitate return of nationals who wish to leave Iran amid the evolving situation. The US lowers its Qatar Air Base security alert. Germany, France, Sweden, Norway and the Netherlands send troops to Greenland after White House talks failed to diminish Trump's desire to acquire the Arctic territory. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates the Conference of Commonwealth Speakers and Presiding Officers in Delhi, says democracy means last mile delivery in India. And India celebrates its 78th Army Day with a grand military parade in Jaipur, putting its full might on display. The tussle over Greenland intensified on Thursday following failed talks at the White House. While Donald Trump reiterated his desire to acquire the Arctic island by any means, European nations like Germany, France, Sweden, Norway and the Netherlands have begun ramping up their military presence in the territory, planning a military exercise. The Western military alliance NATO's fate hangs in balance as uncertainty grows over Greenland's destiny.
Denmark and its allies are stepping up security in Greenland as US President Donald Trump renews calls to acquire the island. France, Germany, Sweden, Norway and Netherlands have deployed military personnel for reconnaissance, while Poland has opted out. Greenland's Prime Minister says the autonomous territory would choose Denmark over the United States.
We are now facing a geopolitical crisis, and if we have to choose between the United States and Denmark here and now, we choose Denmark.
Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said US ambitions over Greenland remain unchanged. She added that the Allied military exercises are aimed at deterrence amid what she calls unacceptable pressure from Washington.
It has not been easy to stand up to completely unacceptable pressure from our closest ally for a lifetime. However, there are many indications that the most challenging part is ahead of us.
Germany said the Greenland mission also seeks to counter growing Russian and Chinese influence in the Arctic. Berlin insists NATO will not allow the region to be militarized by rival powers. French President Emmanuel Macron said on Thursday a first team of French soldiers was already in place in Greenland and more military means will be deployed in the coming days.
France has decided to join the exercise that was scheduled and launched by Denmark in a sovereign and independent manner as part of Arctic endurance. A first team of French soldiers is already on site and will be reinforced in the coming days by land, air and sea means.
Russia has condemned NATO's troop deployment, accusing the alliance of using false threats to justify a military buildup in Greenland. European deployments began after talks between US and Danish officials at the White House ended without a breakthrough on Wednesday. President Trump has maintained that if the US does not act, China or Russia will move in.
And the problem is, there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland. But there's everything we can do. You found that out last week with Venezuela. There's everything we can do about things such as that. Not going to happen. We're not, I can't rely on Denmark being able to defend themselves.
With Arctic ice melting, global powers are competing for new shipping routes and mineral resources. Greenland and Denmark reiterate that the island is not for sale, warning that forceful rhetoric risks deepening divisions within NATO. With agency inputs, Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India.
Now, New Delhi is making preparations to evacuate Indians from Iran in view of the evolving situation. Iran on Thursday vowed to defend itself against any foreign threat. Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Oman are leading efforts to talk to US President Donald Trump and talk him out of an attack in Iran to de-escalate tensions. Meanwhile, the Trump administration has issued new Iran-related sanctions targeting more than a dozen individuals and entities, according to a post on the U.S. Department of Treasury website on Thursday.
Unrest in Iran continues to draw global attention as US President Donald Trump said he has been told that killing in Iran has stopped. However, he has not ruled out military action against Tehran over its violent crackdown on anti-government protesters.
We've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or executions. So I've been told that on good authority. We'll find out about it. I'm sure if it happens, we'll all be very upset, including you will be very upset, but that's just gotten to me, some information that the killing has stopped, that the executions have stopped. They're not going to have an execution.
Trump's remarks led to cooling of international oil prices, but the situation remains uncertain. The United States and the United Kingdom have reduced personnel at the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, calling it a precautionary measure. The UK has also temporarily closed its embassy in Tehran, shifting operations to remote mode. US-based human rights group claims that more than 3,000 people have been killed in recent crackdown following nationwide protests in Iran. Earlier, Trump warned of very strong action if Iranian authorities carried out executions of protesters. Behind the scenes, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Oman have led intense diplomatic efforts to dissuade Washington from launching an attack, citing fears of severe regional fallout. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has denied any plans to execute protesters.
For one reason, they wanted to increase the number of deaths. Why? Because President Trump has said that if there are killings, he would intervene. And they wanted to drag him into this conflict. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. And there is no any hanging today or tomorrow or whatever. I can tell you, I'm confident about that. There is no plan for hanging at all.
Meanwhile, Reza Pahlavi, son of Iran's last Shah, has spoken of a vision for a free Iran, hinting at a future leadership role. As the crackdown continues, dozens of Iranians have reportedly fled the country seeking safety. The unrest sparked by dire economic conditions saw strong action by authorities, with nationwide shutdown of the internet extending over a week now. International reactions continue to pour in. Turkey has urged dialogue, New Zealand has condemned the violence, and China has opposed the use of threat or force in resolving disputes. India is monitoring the evolving situation and said that preparations are underway to facilitate the return of Indian nationals who wish to come back home. Protests sparked by fall of Iran's currency and high inflation in late December soon snowballed into a full-blown crisis for the clerical establishment. With agency inputs, Tripti Tripathi for DD India.
In fact, international oil prices have slumped nearly 5% and US markets are up after this tempering down of tensions as far as Iran is concerned. Now, the United States has seized another Venezuela-linked oil tanker in the Caribbean, marking the 6th such vessel targeted in recent weeks. The seizure has come ahead of a scheduled meeting between US President Donald Trump and Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado as Washington steps up pressure on Caracas. The tanker was allegedly either carrying Venezuelan oil or had previously done so. And there's been another shooting involving US Immigration and Customs Enforcement or ICE agents, which has been reported in Minneapolis, marking the second such incident in just 1 week. Law enforcement sources say immigration officers attempted to make contact with the man on Wednesday when the individual allegedly tried to attack one of the agents. In response, the officer fired defensive shots. The Department of Homeland Security later confirmed the incident on social media, saying that the person targeted was an illegal alien from Venezuela who had resisted arrest during a traffic stop. Both the officer and the man who was shot were taken to hospital for treatment. Now, this latest confrontation comes only days after a separate ICE operation in Minneapolis ended with the fatal shooting of 37-year-old woman during a deportation mission ordered by President Donald Trump. Now, democracy and its power to transform lives took center stage in New Delhi on Thursday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth. Addressing parliamentary leaders from across the globe, Prime Minister Modi showcased how India's democratic institutions have delivered stability, growth and poverty alleviation, turning diversity into strength and offering lessons for nations worldwide. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay has got you more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth, the largest ever in terms of participation. The gathering at Samvidhan Sadan in New Delhi brought together parliamentary leaders from across the Commonwealth to deliberate on strengthening democracy. Highlighting democracy's impact on everyday life, PM Modi pointed to India's success in poverty alleviation. He said the spirit of public welfare has ensured last-mile delivery, lifting 25 crore citizens out of poverty in recent years. His assertion was clear. Democracy delivers tangible results in India, and others can take a lesson from the achievements of Indian democracy.
भारत में डेमोक्रेसी का अर्थ लास्ट माइल डिलीवरी है। हम एक लोक कल्याण की भावना से हर व्यक्ति के लिए बिना किसी भेदभाव के काम कर रहे हैं और इसी लोक कल्याण की भावना के कारण बीते कुछ वर्षों में भारत में 25 करोड़ लोग गरीबी से बाहर निकले हैं। In India, democracy delivers.
The Prime Minister noted that India transformed its diversity into strength. PM emphasized that strong institutions have delivered stability, speed and scale, helping India emerge as the fastest growing major economy. The conference theme, Effective Delivery of Parliamentary Democracy, resonated with this message.
ये चौथा अवसर है जब कॉमनवेल्थ स्पीकर्स और प्रिसाइडिंग ऑफिसर्स की कॉन्फ्रेंस भारत में हो रही है। इस बार इस कॉन्फ्रेंस का मुख्य विषय इफेक्टिव डिलीवरी ऑफ पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी है। आप सभी जानते हैं कि जब भारत आजाद हुआ तो उस दौर में ये आशंका व्यक्त की गई थी कि इतनी डाइवर्सिटी में भारत में लोकतंत्र टिक नहीं पाएगा। लेकिन भारत ने इसी डाइवर्सिटी को डेमोक्रेसी की ताकत बना दिया।
Prime Minister Modi underscored India's commitment to building open source technology platforms. He said these innovations are designed to empower partner nations in Global South, enabling them to replicate India's success stories. India's leadership role on the global stage also came into focus. PM reminded participants that during its G20 presidency, India placed the concerns of the Global South at the heart of the global agenda, championing their interest in international forums. The 28th conference in New Delhi not only showcased India's democratic achievements but also reinforced its vision of inclusive growth and global cooperation. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
And still to come in this edition of DD India News Hour. Russia says Western forces in Ukraine are unacceptable for Moscow. Syrians begin fleeing Kurdish-controlled areas east of Aleppo amid fears of escalating clashes with Kurdish forces. And Uganda votes in 10th presidential and parliamentary elections, seen as a test of its President Museveni's 4-decade reign.
One of India's newest states, one of India's oldest lands. Jharkhand is a hidden.
Take a front seat to witness the grandeur.
Welcome to Rajasthan, the celebration of India. Rajasthan treats you with its many shades and values.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Russia on Thursday criticized Britain's plan to help Ukraine develop a new ground-launched ballistic missile, saying the move was not a step towards peace. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova reacted after London announced a fast-track project codenamed Nightfall to develop deep-strike ballistic missiles for Ukraine as part of its military support against Russia.
The start of development in Britain of the Nightfall ballistic missile with the aim of boosting the firepower of Ukrainian armed forces. As you see, this is another step not in a peaceful direction. Some 18 million British pounds is allocated to develop a test sample within a year.
Russia considers it unacceptable for Western powers to deploy forces under a possible future peace deal for Ukraine. She added that any such soldiers would be considered by Moscow to be legitimate targets.
On January 6th in Paris, on the so-called Coalition of the Willing, meeting sidelines British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, together with the French President and the head of the Kiev regime, signed a declaration of intent, outlining plans to deploy certain multinational forces in Ukraine, essentially Western occupation troops. Our position remains unchanged and it is well known. Any foreign contingents in the Ukraine will be regarded as legitimate targets for the Russian armed forces.
And on the issue of Greenland, Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson said that it was unacceptable for the West to keep claiming that Russia and China have threatened Greenland, and said the crisis over the territory showed the inconsistency of the West's implementation of the so-called rules-based world order.
We stand in solidarity with China's position on the unacceptability of references to certain activity of Russia and China around Greenland as a reason for the current escalation. Before they accuse others in emerging rifts between them, NATO and European Union bureaucrats should first acknowledge their own responsibility for deep and quick erosion of global security and global legal framework.
Now, Britain's opposition leader Kemi Badenoch has sacked former cabinet minister Robert Jenrick from a senior policy team and suspended him from the party and the shadow cabinet, accusing him of plotting to defect. Badenoch said she had clear, irrefutable evidence that Jenrick was secretly planning a move that would damage the Conservatives.
I removed the Conservative whip from Robert Jenrick after dismissing him from the shadow cabinet. I was very sorry to be presented with clear, irrefutable evidence, not just that he was preparing to defect, but he was planning to do so in the most damaging way possible to the Conservative Party and his shadow cabinet colleagues.
Now, official data on Thursday showed that Britain's economy grew faster than expected in the month of November, helped by a sharp rebound in automobile production. Gross domestic product expanded by 0.3% in the month, which is the strongest growth since June. This reversed a 0.1% contraction in October and beat economic forecasts of a modest 0.1% rise. Nearly half of the growth came from a 1.1% increase in industrial output, driven by a 25.5% surge in car production, while the services sector also surprised on the upside with 0.3% growth. Syrians began fleeing Kurdish-controlled areas east of Aleppo on Thursday after government forces issued a deadline for civilians to leave amid fears of escalating clashes with Kurdish forces. Tensions have risen as Damascus moves to extend control following the ouster of Bashar al-Assad, with both the sides trading accusations over blocked evacuations, while talks on integrating Kurdish-held regions into the Syrian state remain stalled. Minister of State for External Affairs Kirtiwardhan Singh met Ahmad Abul Geet, Secretary General of the League of Arab States. Both the leaders held productive discussions on India's wide-ranging political, economic and cultural engagement. They also welcomed the upcoming second India-Arab Foreign Ministerial meet, scheduled to take place in New Delhi at the end of the month. Voters in Wampiwo waited in long queues on Thursday after polling materials arrived late at a local voting station, delaying the start of Uganda's presidential and parliamentary elections. People gathered outside the polling station from early morning, many holding their documentation as they waited for machines and ballot boxes to be delivered. Security personnel monitored the area as election officials brought in ballot boxes marked the Electoral Commission. The vote takes place as President Yoweri Museveni, who is seeking to extend his rule into a fifth decade, faces a challenge from popular singer-turned-politician Bobi Wine. The election is seen as a test of the 81-year-old Museveni's political strength and his ability to avoid the kind of unrest that has recently shaken neighbors Tanzania and Kenya. The Indian Army marked its 78th Army Day in a historic first at the heart of Pink City, Jaipur. From cutting-edge weaponry to cultural pride, the celebrations redefined how the nation salutes its soldiers. Here's a special report.
India celebrated its 78th Army Day on Thursday, showcasing a massive display of indigenous weapons systems and technological advancements. India observes Army Day every year on the 15th of January to mark the historic moment in 1949 when General K.M. Cariappa became the first Indian Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army after independence. Army Day celebrations in the western Indian city of Jaipur transformed the Pink City's public streets into a grand showcase of India's military might, modern warfare readiness and self-reliance. The Indian Army demonstrated its combat power, discipline and cutting-edge technology. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, and Chief of Army Staff, General Upendra Dwivedi, attended the celebrations along with senior military leaders held at Mahal Road in Jagatpura.
Bharat Mata Ki!
After the parade, the Army Chief highlighted growing focus on Made in India defence equipment aimed at building agile, responsive and mission-oriented forces capable of meeting future operational challenges. Holding the Army Day parade outside Delhi is part of a broader initiative to honour national heroes across different regions of the country. The move, conceptualized by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, aims to take the celebrations closer to the people. The parade showcased the Indian Army's growing firepower and modernization with displays of the BrahMos cruise missile, Pinaka multi-barrel rocket launcher, upgraded BM-21 Grad, Smirch rocket system, M777 ultra-light howitzer and the advanced towed artillery gun system. The event also featured the Akash and medium-range surface-to-air missile air defense systems, along with robotic mules and all-terrain vehicles. The display underlined the Indian Army's shift from a man-driven to a technology-driven force, sending a strong strategic message to adversaries.
The Army Day celebrations in Jaipur have set a new benchmark on how this occasion is perceived and commemorated across the country. In the backdrop of Rajasthan's rich military heritage, it also reflects a rich blend of tradition and military strength. Also, it reinforces the idea that Army Day is not just for ceremonial observance, but it is a national tribute to our brave armed forces, sacrifices, unwavering commitment, and all that they do for the country. With camera person Lalit Amakshi Dungre, DD India, Jaipur.
And attending the 78th Indian Army Day celebrations in Jaipur, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh hailed the soldiers' indomitable courage and unwavering dedication, highlighting their ability to adapt to the changing nature of the battlefield. He said Operation Sindoor emerged as a balanced military response amid global uncertainties.
दुनिया अनसर्टेनिटी के दौर से गुजर रही है। ऐसे में यह बात तो पूरी तरह से स्पष्ट है कि सेनाओं का मजबूत रहना तथा सेनाओं का मॉडर्नाइज और आत्मनिर्भर रहना किसी भी देश के अस्तित्व के लिए जितना आज महत्वपूर्ण हो चुका है, उतना पहले कभी नहीं रहा है। ऐसी स्थिति में सेनाओं का मजबूत रहना यह सर्वोपरि है।
Now let's take a look at some other stories making news around the world. A massive snow pile known as the Muskaya Snow Dune has reappeared in central Moscow following record snowfall. Rising up to 5 meters, the mound has become a local attraction, drawing residents and tourists for photos and recreation. Authorities say the city experienced its heaviest snowfall in over 5 decades, with nearly 1 million cubic meters of snow cleared from streets. Artisans at the historic Chuara Tannery in Morocco's Fez continue age-old leather-making techniques passed down through generations. Founded in the 11th century, the tannery supplies leather to local souks and supports livelihoods rooted in tradition. Authorities say the sector remains a key part of Morocco's cultural heritage with strong export potential. Thousands of migratory birds have arrived at Agamon Lake in Israel's Hula Valley Nature Reserve for the winter. The valley is home to a unique migration sanctuary of hundreds of millions of birds migrating from Europe and Asia to Africa and back during the spring and autumn seasons. And still to come on DD India Newshour, we'll be speaking with our expert guests about the evolving situation in West Asia as tensions seem to have lowered over the anti-government protests in Iran, even as uncertainty prevails.
गर फिरदौस बर्रुएज समी است.
Welcome to Rajasthan, the celebration of India. Rajasthan treats you with its many shades and values.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy, and now let's turn to our top story, which remains Iran. There has been unrest there, and although now there seems to be a suggestion that the situation has sort of tempered down, but Donald Trump saying at least the planned executions are not taking place. The Iranians have said nobody is going to be executed among the anti-government protesters, although there was anticipation that that might happen. We do not know what is the exact ground situation, as the internet shutdown is now over a week long in that nation in West Asia, or the Middle East as the Americans call it. And to talk about the situation there, since India has said that it's ready to take people out, facilitate their coming out of Iran if they wish to do so. We're joined by Amrit Lagoon, former senior diplomat. Good evening to you. Ambassador Lagoon, you've had India's envoy responsibilities in the region, I believe in Yemen as well. What do you make of the current situation in Iran? It is a bit of a grey area right now because on the one hand you have India saying that it's now making preparations to get people of Indian origin or Indians out, a lot of students there as well. And at the same time you have the US air base in Qatar where the security alert has been lowered.
Yeah, I mean, the situation is quite fragile there. We don't have real news because of the internet shut down by the government. But on the ground situation, the people, there is a huge resentment. The economic is one very big factor because in the last 2 weeks or so, the Iranian rial against the US dollar has weakened considerably, means it has lost value. And in fact, some of the exchange houses were showing zero value. It is not that currency has become zero, but it's that, the calculations for putting those zeros, what will be the value, has gone awry. So the purchasing power has declined because Yemnis are paid in rial. They import a lot of goods and especially the subsidies, etc., which were given by the government, and even the fuel subsidies, which Iran is a major producer of oil, though it has declined over the years because of sanctions, etc. The fuel subsidies also have been gradually removed, and it is hurting the people very badly. And then, unfortunately, also there has been water issue in Tehran. In the last since starting in December, the water sources have dried down due to various factors. And last year was pretty bad from the security and economic situation point of view for Tehran, because in June their confrontation with Israel destroyed a lot of infrastructure. And then there was this heavy bombing by US B-2B bomber over the nuclear site. Iran has to refurbish most of its missile, which was spent in towards firing towards Israel and exporting to other countries. So it is quite in a precarious situation. And incidentally, another country which is facing turmoil, Venezuela, they both were quite big allies. So situation is dire, even if by chance the regime under Ayatollah Khamenei survives. How long it will be able to go on under these circumstances will be a very big question mark going forward.
Yes, the US has announced fresh sanctions against Iranian officials now. But why do you think Donald Trump has dialed down his talk of suggesting that a military intervention could be made? The ostensible reason, of course, is that Iran is no longer saying that it will execute those who've been caught in anti-government protests. But do you think there are other reasons that are being considered as well?
Well, they may be doing a wait and watch situation. US has big allies in the Gulf, which are just across. You mentions about Qatar, where Americans have a big base. UAE is an American ally. Saudi Arabia is there. We are all sitting opposite the Persian Gulf. So the allies also must be feeling the heat of what is going on in the country, because whatever happens in Iran will have repercussions on the entire region. And we must not forget that 47 years ago, after Ayatollah Khomeini had led the Iranian revolution and taken power, the country was plunged this long Iran-Iraq war, which didn't result in any victory. But it had ramifications there, which led to ultimately Saddam Hussein demanding reparations, which led to Kuwait crisis. No, it had that cascading effect. And these are very oil-rich countries. They have geopolitical importance for the world, especially energy supply. So nobody would take a risk of plunging into the country and then going for uncertainty and having a cascading effect. So that could be the reason. But also the internal situation in Iran is now so implosive that maybe they have news that the regime may not last for a long time. And this situation has been deteriorating. We must also remember that in 2022, when that girl Amini, when she had died in a police custody for not wearing hijab in a proper way, it had led to again a very big violent protest. But that was only the trigger, showing the resentment which the population has. And it has only got worsened over the years, the war with Israel, and then the UN also not lifting the sanctions, permanent sanctions against Iran. So that in fact triggered the currency collapse, because Iran does not have otherwise big trade basket, and it's shut off from the world trade in a normal way. So it is quite a situation. People are just maybe rather than trying to be the cause, they want to play a safe. For example, again in the UN, their PR of Iran has started blaming Israel and US to be behind this crisis. So they don't want his statement to come to gain strength.
But the regime clearly, through the years of sanctions and all, is considerably weakened, which is why it has had trouble, taking care of the economic woes of the people as well. But do you think that till now the regime is surviving mostly because it's the armed forces that still support it? Because as long as the armed forces keep supporting the regime, it will fight to live to fight another day.
Yeah, that's a big factor. We'll have to see, especially this in Iranian Revolutionary Guard (IRGC), how, because they are the elite force. So they what role they will play it will become a very crucial factor. And there were reports to be confirmed that some of the big guns of IRGC security forces have started little defecting. And also we must know that the current supreme leader, Mr. Khamenei, who had succeeded Ayatollah Khomeini, is become quite advanced in age. He's fragile, and anyhow, his one hand is paralyzed due to an attack quite long time ago. So there was always there was a talk or a move to appoint his successor now. And a committee, I believe, has been formed to look into it. And one of the consideration is the son of Ayatollah Khomeini, who's there. So these uncertainties are there, and he has been in power as a supreme leader for quite some time. And even if suppose he abdicates and makes a successor as a supreme leader, for him to take reins at this moment, will be very, very challenging. And maybe some of the dissidents, seeing where the country is going, they might decide to switch sides. And already the former Shah's son, Reza Pahlavi, is waiting on the sideline, to put him back into the country. So these are a lot of uncertain times, and we'll see the armed IRGC and other security forces will play, in fact, the crucial role and will decide the fate of events in the coming days.
that is another reason that when you spoke of the descendant of the Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, Donald Trump wasn't very keen that he's someone who could be backed, because it's unclear, and Donald Trump perhaps also is not making a military intervention, because even if he manages to say change, bring about regime change, what next is something that he doesn't really have an answer for right now.
Yes, that is what is a dangerous situation, because Iran is not unlike many other countries in the region which are going through a lot of turmoil. For example, Sudan. Sudan, where this long ruler, General Bashir, when he was removed, and then this interim government was formed, and they did not last, and now the two forces of RSF and the Sudan army are now like fighting, fight to the death, which the common people are suffering. So compared to Sudan, Iran is much more important, both from the resource point of view, geopolitically. So people would definitely not like that situation to happen. We must also know that the Reza Pahlavi's father, Shah, was one of the resentment was that he was an American stooge, who was ruling, and he was supporting American interest, oil interest, especially in the region, and he was very close to Israel. Israel, in fact, had the best relations in the region with Iran at that time. And so these very played a very big factors for Ayatollah Khomeini to muster support. So, though of course a generation has come up which have not seen the Shah's rule, but the opposition can, with the present regime, can bring this factor, which can again play a emotional chord with the Iranians. What we had got rid of earlier.
Right.
No, you are trying to build that bring
Okay.
the same factor back. So naturally, they would like to wait and watch the situation. Yes.
Okay, so perhaps this situation will sustain for the time being. Meanwhile, as India has indicated, it has made preparations to facilitate the exit of the Indians who are there in Iran, those who want to move out. And there are reports that the first flights could be taking off from Tehran tomorrow itself. We'll keep an eye on that situation and perhaps talk about it further with you as well. Ambassador Lagoon, thank you so much for joining us for the time being.
Thank you. Welcome.
Now, still to come on DD India Newshour. The Bangladesh Cricket Board sacks its director Nazmul Islam in the aftermath of players' boycott in Bangladesh Premier League matches. And draws are out for the first Grand Slam of the year, the Australian Open.
Tamil Nadu.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy. India's Supreme Court on Thursday stayed FIRs registered by the West Bengal Police against Enforcement Directorate officers over searches conducted at political consultancy firm IPAC in Kolkata. The Apex Court said the case raised serious and far-reaching questions about alleged interference with central agency investigations. The court also directed that CCTV footage of the searched premises be preserved. The top court also issued notices to the respondents and said the stay on FIRs would continue until the next hearing on the 3rd of February. The ED has alleged that West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee entered the premises during the 8th of January search linked to the coal smuggling case and removed key evidence, a charge denied by Mamata's party, Trinamool Congress. Counting of votes cast on Thursday for the Brihan-Mumbai Municipal Corporation General Election 2025-26 will take place on the 16th of January, which is Friday, starting at 10 a.m. at 23 counting centres at various locations. The vote counting process will be completed in accordance with the guidelines of the Election Commission of India and with strict adherence to the Model Code of Conduct. Necessary precautions have been taken regarding security arrangements, traffic management and law and order during the vote counting process. For the BMC General Election 2025-26, a total of 23 returning officers have been appointed for the 227 electoral wards within the municipal corporation's jurisdiction. Strong rooms and counting centres have been designated under each returning officer's office for the vote counting process. In a display of patriotism blended with traditional craftsmanship, Mohammad Maqbool Dar, along with a dedicated team of 10 skilled young girls from Ashtangu village in Bandipora district of Kashmir, has undertaken a unique initiative to weave 6 national flags using the age-old art of carpet making. The team is also meticulously weaving a carpet depicting the map of India, symbolizing national unity and integrity. The initiative pays tribute to the tricolour while highlighting cultural heritage, artistic excellence and the role of local women artisans. Indian expatriate women in Oman came together to celebrate the harvest festival of Pongal, keeping their cultural traditions alive far from home. Through devotional songs, rituals and community bonding, the celebrations reflected how Indian customs continue to unite the diaspora abroad.
To the rhythm of songs steeped in devotion, women from Indian families settled in Oman rekindled the festive spirit of Pongal on Thursday. Though far from their homeland, they say their traditions have never faded, making life abroad feel closer to home.
I've been here past 12 years in Oman, and it is such a pleasant surprise that we get an opportunity to celebrate each and every festival of like our Hindu tradition in Oman. And without any restriction, we come here, we celebrate. It is so joyful. We have temples here, the Krishna temple and the Shiva temple, where we can visit, and we have this joyous moment. Each and every festival is celebrated on a larger scale. So this makes Oman a very special place.
For these Indian expatriate women living in Oman, the celebrations symbolize their coming together as one family to embrace Indian traditions.
It's a great festival to celebrate the new beginning of life. So usually Tamil people celebrate it as a new year for them also. We are celebrating it together as a family in Oman.
They say that there are 5 mothers. So Bhumata is Mother Earth, Gomata is Mother Cow, Dehamata is the mother who has given birth to us, Deshmata is the country where we belong to, and Vedamata, which is the scriptures in each and every religion. So we always need to be grateful to these 5 mothers. So to signify all these things, we are celebrating Shankranti, Pongal, Lori, Harvest Festival, and I'm so happy that being in Oman, we feel that we are in India and celebrating everything.
Rooted in shared traditions and culture, this gathering at a local Hindu temple marked a celebration of togetherness and community bonding.
And Nepal is observing National Agricultural Biodiversity Day on Thursday, an annual occasion dedicated to recognizing and promoting the importance of agricultural biodiversity in the Himalayan nation. To mark the day, a festival was organized in Kathmandu showcasing diverse crop varieties, wild species, mushrooms and traditional farming knowledge. On the occasion, Vice President Ram Sahai Prasad Yadav has emphasized the conservation and sustainable use of biological sources. He further highlighted that all citizens and relevant stakeholders must be conscious about the conservation and sustainable use of resources. Maghe Sankranti was celebrated with vibrant cultural programs in Kathmandu Valley on Wednesday as members of the Magar and Tharu communities gathered at Tundi Khel. Groups from several provinces showcased traditional music, dance as well as attire, creating a festive atmosphere in the heart of the capital. For the Tharu community, Maghe Sankranti also marks the New Year, celebrated with traditional foods and family gatherings. Nepal's President Ramchandra Paudel and Prime Minister Sushila Karki extended greetings, highlighting the festival's role in promoting harmony and cultural heritage. Let's now get to some sporting updates as well. Well, Bangladesh Cricket Board Director M. Nazmul Islam was sacked on Thursday and relieved for responsibilities of the board, including his position as head of the Finance Committee, amid demands from cricketers. On Thursday, the opening match of the Dhaka leg of the Bangladesh Premier League was disrupted by a player boycott, with teams refusing to take the field in Mirpur. The match, scheduled to begin at 1 p.m. with a toss at 12:30 p.m., was delayed as cricketers stood by their ultimatum demanding the resignation of Nazmul Islam. The standoff followed controversial remarks by Islam, who said players were not entitled to compensation if Bangladesh missed the upcoming ICC Men's T20 World Cup, and suggested the board could demand refunds from cricketers for poor international performances. The comments were widely condemned by players as insulting and dismissive. India got its ICC Under-19 World Cup 2026 campaign underway with a 6-wicket victory via Duckworth-Lewis method against the US at the Queen's Sports Club in Bulawayo on Thursday. Put into bat by Indian skipper Ayush Matre, the US got bundled out for 107 runs. Pacer Henil Patel made the most of the bounce and movement of the surface to pick a 5-wicket haul. The US's Nitish Sudhini waged a lonely battle with his 52-ball 36 and dragged his team beyond the 100-run mark, but he had little support from the other end. In reply, India raced to 21 runs after 4 overs, but rain forced interruption in play. After the resumption, the target was revised to 96 runs, with the overs reduced to 37 overs. The men in blue chased the target in 17.2 overs. The main draw of the first Grand Slam of the year, the Australian Open 2026, took place on Thursday at Melbourne. Some notable battles are set to kick-start round 1, including defending champion Yannick Sinner going against Hugo Gaston. Men's top seeds, Carlos Alcaraz will play 79th ranked Australian Adam Walton in the Spaniard's quest for a first Australian Open crown. 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic was bracketed next to 71st ranked Spaniard Pedro Martinez for the opening round. Former Wimbledon champion Rybakina will clash with unseeded Slovene Kaja Juvan in the first round. Meanwhile, women's defending champion Madison Keys will face unseeded Ukrainian Alexandra Olenikova. Women's top seed Arina Sabalenka will be up against French wildcard Tiatsua Rakatomanga. And Indian squash player Anahat Singh has been touted as India's next superstar. She has won medals at the Asian Games. She is the first Indian woman to become a US Open champion in any age division and was also part of the Indian team that won gold at the World Cup. She has spoken with DD India's Abhishek Mahajan. Take a look.
First of all, congratulations on winning the World Cup, India's first ever squash World Cup gold. Tell us, how big is this achievement for you and the team, and when actually did it sink in that the team had in fact created history?
Thank you. It was, I think, yeah, it was a great moment for all 4 of us, just getting to play on that stage and getting to play at home in India, surrounded by so many people, and at such a big event. We were all just really excited to, get the chance to even play and, compete at that level with so many of the top athletes. And I think just as the matches went along, all 4 of us were playing extremely well throughout that week, and we just tried to take it one step at a time and see how far we can go, and it ended up turning out to be some of the best squash all of us have played, and yeah.
And also the Prime Minister congratulated you and the team on this victory. What did that recognition mean to you?
I think it was so amazing just getting to see that. All four of us were together at that time, and we were just discussing it, and we were like, it was so grateful and so lucky to have this opportunity and get this kind of recognition from him, and yeah, just getting to see that that our achievement was noticed and that he was happy for us and proud of us. It was something that all of us were really happy to see, and it's something that really pushed us to continue to do more and win more medals for the country.
Anand, also squash will make its Olympic debut at LA 2028. Joshna says India has been waiting for that Olympic squash medal and she sees you as a contender. Do you allow yourself to dream that far ahead?
I think it's definitely in mind. That's there for every single athlete. I'm not going to deny the fact that it's in a few years, so there's still a couple of, there's still a little bit of time, but it's there in the big picture.
Well, we all wish that Anand keeps making India proud. And that's all we have for this issue of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Just scan the QR code on the screen to download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Royan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.